No! Too many dolls!
I know, I thought it would be funny, but it's just really scary.
Before we start this deep dive, I would like to shout out r/Monster High for being the main source of information about the topics we will be talking about in this video. I would also like to thank my sibling for giving me the idea to make this video in the first place and helping me a lot in the process. Hello! Now, I decided to film this little introduction to sort of explain how this video came to be. Now, I am not a doll collector myself, but I'm really interested in topics revolving around fandom culture and historical context of stuff like this, so to say. I don't want to be a fake fan, so the person who actually urged me to make this video is my sister Pearl.
And let's bring Pearl.
Who actually is an avid doll collector. She's gonna be joining me for this video today. And since she's part of that community, she usually loves to tell me about new information or leaks that revolve around doll collecting. Be it Monster High, Shadow High, Rainbow High, all that sort of stuff. And I do think it's pretty interesting myself, since I'm also part of many fandoms. And stuff like this just has always fascinated me. So one day she came up to me and was like, "You should make a video about Monster High." And I was like, okay, sure. Monster High is pretty cool. She actually did most of the script and research for this video. This was supposed to be a cool little video about modern Monster High releases. Things sort of escalated, and once I took a look at the script, it was like, what? Well, I'm not finished yet. There's gonna be even more stuff. So yeah, but it was a lot of fun learning about Monster High, reading about this community and the history of Monster High releases. That was just really interesting, and yeah. Pearl and I would love to share this stuff with you guys, so I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you. Okay, so now let's take a look at the tumultuous releases of Mattel's Monster High dolls in the last couple of years. Ah yes, Monster High. Back in its prime, the franchise was beloved by kids and teens for its edginess and unique designs, and hated by Karens for, well, their edginess and unique designs. In fact, the dolls were so popular when they released in 2010 that they frequently sold out everywhere. That doesn't come as a surprise, as the dolls were based on spooky creatures from pop culture, such as Dracula, the Wolfman, or Frankenstein's monster. Combine that with cool, edgy outfits that targeted a young teen demographic, and voila! People went crazy over these dolls, as they were a breath of fresh air when compared to the other typical pink princess dolls of that time. Monster High was cool.
I was 10 or 11 years old when the first released back then, and even though I hadn't played with any dolls for a few years at that point, I fell in love with them instantly. So for Christmas that year, I begged Santa to give me a Dracula doll. I was so excited, but unfortunately, the dolls were sold out everywhere. But although I had to wait a few months longer, I eventually got my first Monster High doll in February or so. When I finally held Dracula in my hands, I immediately fell in love with the line, and so began a lifelong obsession. After my first Dracula, I proceeded to buy many more Monster High dolls throughout my teenage years. What a time to be alive! But after a few years of collecting them, it felt like the dolls kinda lost their charm after a while. Especially after the first generation of Monster High ended in 2016. And Mattel would try to recapture the magic by releasing a second, very poorly received generation of dolls. I didn't even realize that they stopped producing the dolls in 2018, after the failure of Generation 2. Of course, I still took good care of my dolls and have them displayed even up until now. Even though I couldn't buy them in stores anymore, I still had nice memories of Monster High and the thrill of hunting for them. Deep down, I hoped the dolls would have some sort of comeback in the future. And when looking at old posts on the internet, it seems like I wasn't the only one.
Picture this. The year is 2020. You are around 20 years old now, and you are looking for inspiration of what to wear for the upcoming Halloween party. You're on your phone scrolling for inspiration for your costume, and somehow find a photo of a Monster High doll that looks like the clown from the movie It. As you remember your good old times with your Monster High dolls from back then, you get curious and look up what Monster High has been up to the last couple of years after you had stopped collecting them. As you stumble upon the official Monster High profile, you are surprised to find out that the Pennywise-inspired doll you saw earlier would be an official release at the end of October. And that's not all. We would also be releasing dolls inspired by the twins from The Shining. You are stoked and admittedly pretty excited, and a long-extinguished spark starts to ignite in your heart once again as you're actually thinking about collecting Monster High dolls again. I can imagine many people felt a similar way when they heard that Monster High would be coming back. And I mean the original G1 Monster High dolls, which were beloved by fans, not the weird Gen 2 collection that failed miserably a few years back. People were very hyped, and many wanted to restart collecting Monster High dolls after the announcement that the new dolls in the G1 style were returning. Mattel seemed to want to make fans happy, and they kept releasing Skullector dolls in the next couple of years. For example, in 2021, a set inspired by Beetlejuice was released, as well as a Greta Gremlin-inspired doll. This caused a snowball effect, as more releases led to more people wanting to restart their collection or start collecting Monster High dolls in general. Sadly, higher demand doesn't necessarily mean higher number of dolls produced. Many fans were not able to get their desired doll before it sold out. This happened with the first Skullector releases, and the problem persists even up until today. This became extremely apparent, especially with the release of the Haunt Couture line. In early 2022, Mattel released a higher quality line of dolls, with the characters Frankie, Draculaura, and Claudine, inspired by their G1 designs. These dolls stood out as they had more details when compared to other releases, such as rooted eyelashes and embroidered details on their clothing, for example. When the dolls were finally released, many fans were not able to get their hands on one of the dolls, especially Draculaura sold out quickly. To this day, she's one of the most expensive dolls to get. The next Haunt Couture dolls that dropped were Cleo and Laguna. These two also proved to be very popular, and the positive reception the designs received would also carry over to future releases. A Dracula-inspired doll was dropped next, as well as a doll based on the comedy horror film Elvira. Now, fans were pretty happy with these special collector monsters, even though some aspects of their designs weren't translated as well as others. Bruh. Never forget what they took from you. Not all fans were thrilled by the design choices made by Mattel. In my opinion, that was especially apparent when the Skullector pack featuring Chucky and Tiffany was announced. Now, rumors about this release had been floating around the internet for a while before they were officially teased by Mattel, and the hype was quite real. Then, one day, Monster High officially announced their new Skullector dolls. Okay, what do we have here? Do we, maybe get to see the dolls before they release? Let's just hope. I mean, there are still a few days left until they come out. Okay, it's the first day of May, and still no full photos of the dolls. Let's just check Instagram and see— what? They dropped? I totally missed it! Oh man. Well, I mean, they don't even look that good, so yeah. In my opinion, the last Skullector drop was pretty weird. Fans didn't get to see the full dolls until 15 minutes before they were released or so. People were forced to make a split-second decision whether they wanted to buy the dolls or not. And mind you, these are not cheap. Also, many fans were disappointed by their design. Especially Tiffany wasn't able to meet the collector's expectations. This being the most recent release shows that Mattel still hasn't really learned how to handle drops correctly. But that's not all, unfortunately. Even though these dolls cost a lot of money, the quality control is still often lackluster at best. The dolls tend to have wonky faces, rooted eyes, or even missing or wrong parts. And it seemed like Mattel wasn't really interested in improving the quality of their dolls, while future releases continued to get more expensive despite that. The next major event we want to talk about was the Fang vote. The Fang vote was an event where fans could vote for the next Monster High character to get a Mattel Creations exclusive release. In the first round, you could vote for one of the 3 following ghouls: Rebecca Steam,
Venus McFlytrap,
or Rochelle Goyle. People were really excited as these characters were quite beloved by the community, especially Rochelle. Rochelle! So, to no one's surprise, she won the first round, and the next 3 would decide her outfit and her look respectively. After a few months of voting, the results were finally in, and Drumroll, please. Perfect. This is how she ended up looking.
Yeah, some people loved it and some people hated it. Now, let me interrupt real quick to give my 2 cents and just say, dear doll designers, fans are tired of mermaid dresses. So if you could please come up with something different, that'd be cool. Thanks. So yeah, mixed reviews about the future release, but nothing concrete could really be said until photos of the actual doll would be shared.
Reception wasn't exactly positive. We should have decided the price too.
Not the same color palette as the artwork, the shoes are not stained glass, and the hairstyle is not the same. Why make fans vote for what they want and not make it anywhere close to the artwork?
Bro, this is not the doll we voted for.
$90 something that doesn't even have stuff from the concept art?
Fans especially weren't happy with the final design and pricing of the doll. Also, Rochelle would not ship for a very long time, being April of 2024? That's like a year from then. That means fans would have to wait exactly 1 year until they were finally able to get their hands on the Rochelle doll. It kinda seemed like Mattel tried to make an effort to make fans happy, but could not do it properly. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's really sad actually, as I think being able to vote for how a new doll would look is actually quite a cool idea. They tried to incorporate the community's voices and listen to them, but unfortunately, this was executed poorly. The Fang vote, as well as the next thing we will be talking about, are a good example of that. With that being said, it's time to talk about the Monster High Fang membership. Now, this is a subscription service in which you get access to limited doll drops. Well, in theory, the membership is supposed to make it possible for fans to get the dolls they really wanted, as it would reserve the desired ghoul for the buyer. Cool idea, as this would also help resolving the problem with bots buying the entire stock when a new collection drops.
When the exclusive Fang membership Gulak Schoolia hit the site, everything went pretty smooth, if I remember correctly. It was a stunning doll. She was reasonably priced, about $50, and she was up for hours after release. Even a day or two if I remember correctly. This is quite special, as dolls usually sell out in nanoseconds after launch. Trust me, I've been there.
So, things were looking good. This was a successful drop, and fans were hopeful that it would mark the beginning of a bright future for coming releases. This marks the end of the section about Mattel Creation exclusive dolls. During the month-long making of this video, a few more drops happened, like for example, the San Diego Comic-Con Freak to Cheek Draculaura that released a few days ago as a writing of a script. However, it would simply be impossible to cover everything in one video. To my knowledge, and from what I have heard, the drop went pretty smoothly as well. Please feel free to write in the comments your experiences with the Freak to Cheek Draculaura release, or other releases. Now without further ado, let's move on to the next topic. Having exclusive premium dolls is great and all, but the thrill of actually going out and finding dolls in stores like back in the day is a whole different experience. There are many people who grew up with Monster High. The love for the first generation of dolls continues even up to this day. However, people who started collecting or picked up collecting again after some time would find it difficult to buy first releases of Generation 1 dolls for a reasonable price nowadays. Especially the main 7 ghouls are rare to get in good condition nowadays. So, naturally, fans were excited when Monster High announced a reproduction of 4 of the main ghouls, Draculaura, Claudine, Laguna, and Frankie, in early 2022. The line was going to be called Original Creeproductions, and would be released on Friday the 13th of May 2022. The dolls were set to hit shelves at selected Walmart stores as well. Fans were ecstatic, but then... Yeah, the release was kind of messy. The dolls sold out almost immediately on the Mattel website. People were trying to get them at their local Walmart, but could only find 1 or 2 in stores if lucky. It seemed like Mattel had not produced enough dolls for the huge demand from collectors. Mattel also refused to give any information about which select Walmart stores would have them in stock. This led to FOMO and anxiety among many fans. However, the community bonded together and people kindly helped each other out by creating a list of Walmart stores who had the dolls on shelves, posting on sites like Instagram or Reddit about locations where the dolls would be found, or buying them and sending them to other fans for a reasonable price. While American fans had at least some sort of news about the release of the Creeproduction dolls, European fans were left in the dark. Mattel is quite notorious for not communicating with its community. Replies to desperate fans like, "Keep checking your local Walmart," or "Ask random European Mattel site," are fairly common. European fans had no hope of getting an official answer from Mattel. So they decided to ask other retailers for any little crumbs of information. People who were courageous enough contacted their country's Mattel site for any news about a possible release of the Creeproduction dolls in their location. In the end, and with a lot of effort, some information about potential future releases could be gathered by the community. There was even a list which displayed every country and location that confirmed the release, and your best chance on how to get your desired doll.
For some countries, it stated that the dolls would be available in spring of the following year. This was kind of a bummer for non-American Monster High fans, but they would be glad to be seeing the dolls in store at all after such a long time. Soon enough, the day had come. May 13th, 2022. News spread quickly about the Creeproductions being available on some European Mattel sites.
Whoa!
As fans turned on their computer and opened the site, eager to place an order, but that soon changed when they saw how much the dolls would cost. You see, in America, the Creeproductions went for around $25 each, while the same line would go for €35 in European countries. Some might argue that this is still a reasonable price. Many fans, however, were having second thoughts about buying the dolls after learning about the price. Now, keep in mind that people in the doll community only had access to limited information at that point. However, the general consensus was that the dolls would be released in stores in sometime in 2023. So, why not play the long game and wait a year in order to choose the doll in stores, and maybe even save some money? Well, I'm sorry to say this, but to my knowledge, the Creeproduction line of Monster High was never released in European toy stores. My heart goes out to the fans who missed out on the release and hope that they can experience the childhood memory by finding the dolls in stores once again. Now, people buying the dolls online lucked out without even knowing it back then. I was also one of those lucky few who got their hands on 2 of them, even though I waited a day after release to buy 2 of the dolls.
Soon, American and European fans started to get desperate and realized that they maybe would never be able to get the doll they had waited for. As one user on Reddit writes,
"So, I'm a European doll collector and I'm upset how Mattel treat worldwide collectors. We have no info when the Creeproduction or even if they will come to worldwide countries. We can only guess when. Only a few EU lands were able to get the Creeproductions, but that was only online in limited stock. So was your store on Walmart, limited stocking and everything is already sold out or cleared out, on sale. That isn't fair. I was planning to ask American friend to get me a Creeproduction doll, but they all sold out. And no info when they will come or if they will come to Target or Amazon. It's very frustrating how Mattel treats us all, not as fans or collectors, but just money bags to them. I'm very aware that Mattel Creation had them too, but shipment from Mattel Creation would cost me up to $15 or $30, which is insane for a doll that other people managed to find in their local stores.
As you can see, the release of the Monster High original Creeproductions left a bitter taste in the mouth of many fans. It was a real disaster in many ways. As of today, the line goes for way more than the original price on resale websites like eBay due to limited stock and high demand. Fans, however, still hope and pray for a future restock of the ghouls, or maybe even a second wave of characters that were previously excluded from the first release, like Ghoulia, Cleo, or Deuce. There was also hope that future releases would be handled better by Mattel, after they saw what happened with the Creeproduction release, and more people would be able to get their hands on new dolls. But no one could have predicted that this was only the beginning and everything would only go downhill from here.
Bright camera action! The Monster High alumni ghouls are back in black and white as they take over the Silver Scream in the all-new Monster High Real Drama series, available starting this Wednesday. So, just to clarify, no one has found the Real Drama dolls in store yet today, and any employees who have been asked about them have had no idea when they'll be in stock? Is this correct?
A doll line called Real Drama was announced as Monster High's newest series featuring the Generation 1 ghouls. Similar to the Creeproduction dolls, 4 main monsters would be featured in this collection: Frankie, Drac, Laguna, and Claudine. These dolls were quite unique as they were grayscale, with little extra splashes of color added to the dolls. These designs would serve as an homage to old black and white movies, which can be traced back as being the origin of many modern depictions of monsters in pop culture today. The sets would also include a movie poster, a stand, a pet, as well as a mini poster for the doll to hold. Also, the characters would have significantly longer hair compared to the first releases of the main ghouls. The corresponding pets that would be included would also have this grayscale design, with some splotches of color added to them. And, well, some interesting design choices were made here.
Is that a weed?
Well, besides that little hiccup, I would say their designs were quite good. The rest of the fandom seemed to agree, as many doll collectors quickly fell in love with them once we got our first look at the dolls. Pictures of the upcoming Real Drama line would leak in late July/early August.
People were especially fond of the long hair as well as the little splashes of color. The fans were quite excited to see the rest of the ghouls' designs, as only Draculaura was leaked back then. The Real Drama dolls had the potential to become one of the most successful and beloved lines from Monster High. People were eager to find out more details about the upcoming dolls, especially when it came to their potential release date. But unfortunately, to the dismay of many fans, there was no official release date yet. Some potential dates were theorized online, such as November 1st or October 13th. But no concrete answer could be determined yet. Fans started to panic and FOMO was striking once again in the doll community. People were once again getting quite annoyed by the lack of communication from Mattel. One user on Reddit writing,
"I'm so tired of waiting for Real Drama. At first it was October 1st, then someone said October 8th, and then October 13th. I'm so done with these dates that are messing with my mind. If they are not coming out on November 1st, I will officially give up. Cause I can't keep expecting them to come at a false date anymore."
Pre-sales for these dolls circled around on various sites for a while before their official release. However, the prices were downright outrageous. At the beginning of October, pre-order links on sites like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, or Amazon would pop up. Fans were excited, as it seemed that these dolls would be more accessible for everyone. People were hopeful that Mattel had finally listened to the community and learned from their past mistakes when the Creeproduction line of dolls was released. Even though the pre-orders quickly sold out, fans still hoped to get their hands on the dolls they wanted. And honestly, the dolls were not even officially announced yet. So there was no need to panic, right? Right?
No.
On October 18th, Monster High shared an official release date for the Real Drama dolls on their Twitter and Instagram pages. The dolls were set to be released on October 21st in Walmart, Target, and on the Mattel Creations site. Fans were happy to finally have an official release date, but many could not shake the feeling that something similar to the messy Creeproduction release would happen again. While many people were able to pre-order some dolls already, others were not as lucky. Their only hope left was getting them via the Mattel Creation site or directly in stores. Oh, and if you are wondering, what about the non-American collectors? Well, like always, these fans were left in the dark completely, as there was no information about any international releases of the dolls outside the US.
The world according to Mattel.
The only way for international fans to purchase the dolls was through Mattel Creations. However, they had to pay a lot more when compared to American fans, and even more when getting them from resellers. And as the release date crept closer, the PTSD that the Creeproduction release had caused made some American fans decide that it would be safer to order them online as well. This led to a bit of disagreement between the international fans and American fans. International fans argued that US fans were able to get the dolls in store, and they should not buy them from the Mattel creation site, as there was only limited stock, and it was the only way to get them as an international collector. On the other side, many American fans still had the disastrous release of the Creeproduction line fresh on their minds, and wanted to make sure that they would get their hands on the desired dolls. This led to even more reservation spots being taken on the Mattel creation site, as it was not clear whether the dolls would ultimately end up in stores or not.
As the highly anticipated release date of Wednesday, October 21st finally came, people refreshed the Mattel creation site every second for hours, in order to have a chance to finally click on the oh so elusive Buy Now button once it would be enabled. While seconds felt like hours and refreshing the site took suspiciously long, fans were hoping for a miracle. Finally, the Buy Now button appeared. Now quick, select the dolls you want and go to the checkout. Oh no, a suspiciously tricky captcha. Finally! Now just add my payment information. Wait, what?
Sold out. Yeah, the launch was a disaster. The dolls were sold out in like 2 minutes, and only a few fans were able to buy them. However, the collectors are hardly to blame for this situation. As previously mentioned, a huge problem in the doll community are the so-called scalpers. These bots are utilized in order to buy a huge amount of stock in very quick succession. A majority of orders come from these scalpers. The high demand for the dolls, the problem with the scalpers, and the stock being probably very small from the start, led to the real drama doll selling out pretty much immediately. Now you might think, well, that's unfortunate, but fans are still able to buy them at stores. Well, yes, but actually no. People who got up early and drove to the stores in order to get the dolls most often than not were not able to find them. Only a few lucky collectors were able to get one through retailers.
Guys, I can't even. After the disastrous morning of missing out on the real drama dolls and chasing retailer sites, I decided to go to Walmart with no sleep to see if they hopefully had some. Well, they didn't. And to top it off, I dropped my car keys down a sewer grate.
Soon, resellers popped up on sites like Walmart.com and were selling the dolls for outrageous prices. Many users try to get an answer from Monster High via Twitter and Instagram, but would only get the following response:
Keep checking your local Walmart.
So again, no real communication with fans. They also managed to mess up the notorious "keep checking blah blah blah" line by only writing "keep" on various occasions when replying to fans' questions. This quickly turned into somewhat of a meme with the Monster High fandom. After some more time, the real drama dolls would officially drop on Walmart and Target's websites, but many people missed the release as they would also sell out pretty much instantly.
Up until this point, the fans' frustration had reached a boiling point. But despite that, there wasn't really any bad blood towards those who were able to get the dolls they wanted. Many fellow collectors who missed out on their desired dolls still made sure to congratulate other fellows who had more luck than them with their hunt. I was one of the lucky few who was able to purchase a real drama doll on its release date on the Mattel Creation site.
As many collectors finally received their pre-orders, or were actually lucky enough to find the dolls in store, you would think that was it, right? You got the ghoul you wanted, and can now proudly display your prized possession on a shelf? Well, unfortunately not. Mattel seems to have some problems when it comes to their quality control department, which is especially frustrating if you were able to snatch a particularly rare doll. What I mean by this is that when some poor unfortunate souls opened their packages, what would greet them would be a doll with a wonky face and or damaged box. Some of you might think that a damaged box isn't that bad because you just take the doll out of the box anyways. However, there are many doll collectors who prefer to keep dolls in box in order to preserve their value. I would also be quite disappointed if I had to display a doll and had to always look at the scratched plastic on the box window or look at tears in the cardboard. Not to mention that errors like this also reduce a doll's value significantly. Fans were devastated. The Real Drama release was an even bigger mess than the Creeproduction release. The dolls were only produced in small numbers, and it seemed like Mattel just couldn't keep the promise that the collection would be available in stores as well. International fans gave up on hope of ever owning these dolls without paying outlandish prices. You see, if an international fan missed out on buying the dolls on the Mattel Creation site, there was almost no hope of getting them, because other than the Creeproduction line, the Real Drama dolls did not release on European Mattel sites for some reason. Once again, complete chaos.
This is life for you now. Endless suffering.
As more time passed and almost no hope was left, even more devastating news came to light, which frustrated the already disappointed fan base even more.
My Real Drama pre-order on Amazon ended up being cancelled. If anyone has them included among their Amazon orders, but they still haven't shipped, it seems like there's a good chance they will be cancelled once it reaches the end of the estimated arrival dates. Really disappointed in Mattel, and I'm so sorry for all the other people who have to/had to wait months in limbo just to get nothing for it.
Yes, you heard right. People who were lucky enough to actually pre-order the dolls were now being faced with the devastating situation that their pre-order was cancelled. But Amazon wasn't the only site that cancelled orders. Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store also had to refund many customers. Rumors about the production being discontinued quickly spread on social media because of that. Supposed official responses from Mattel surfaced, but fans still held out hope. As more and more orders were cancelled and more responses were posted, people grew certain that the production of the Real Drama line had officially been put on hold. There were a number of theories as to why the dolls were discontinued. Even more, fans now started to check their own trusted reseller sites in hopes to find a fairly priced doll. But more often than not, crazy expensive scalper listings were all that could be found on these sites.
People expressed their feelings on Twitter and Instagram in hopes of reaching Monster High and/or Mattel, hoping to get some sort of response. But as always, the fans were left in the dark. And that concludes the story of the Real Drama release and the real drama it caused for many collectors. Even today, the community still holds out hope that Mattel will one day learn from their mistakes and start listening to their fans. Luckily, if you were to look at more recent releases, there seems to be some kind of improvement from Mattel's side at least.
Okay, I just noticed while editing this video that the Annabelle doll is actually going to drop in a few minutes today. My sister doesn't know that I'm doing this, but I just wanted to do a little experiment and see if Monster High dolls still sell out as instantly as they used to. And I got my stopwatch here, and we're just gonna do a little experiment and see how long this doll is gonna be available. Now, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't want to snatch it away from some person who really wants it. We'll just see how it goes. So this is not our first rodeo. I've actually helped my sister buy a few dolls on this site. Usually how it goes, once the timer hits 0, you have to wait another minute before the buy now button becomes visible. And after that, it's just a lot of hoping and praying, a test of endurance, strength, and dexterity. With that being said, let's see how this drop goes.
The Monster High bus is on its way! Open it up, see the gold friends ride.
Pull the bumper, swoop, see.
The cues here totally rule. Pop up mirror for your gorgeous do. Pool party on the roof! Ready to roll! Monster High school bus.
Stalls not included. Social Security Administration employees.
2018 marked the end of Monster High. The second generation was not selling well due to being cheaply produced and overall bad decisions made by Mattel. Like, for example, choosing to make the dolls more cutesy in order to pander to over-concerned parents, as there was quite a bit of backlash from these groups because of the more edgy approach the original line took back in the day. As previously mentioned, we got the first Skullector dolls in 2020. With the release of these dolls, fans were intrigued by the thought that a possible third generation of the Monster High Play-Doh line would soon be released, or was at least in the making. May 2022. Then it happened. Someone found Monster High related products in the search system of Target. As the leak happened during the time that the original Creeproduction line was released, fans were hopeful that characters like Twyla would also get a Creeproduction release in the future. Little did they know that this leak would not be that, but our first glimpse at the upcoming new Generation 3 instead. As time went on, even more listings could be found in their system, and people were excited to see their beloved ghouls returning. Also, the live-action Monster High film was announced, and shortly after that, we got to see our favorite ghouls in the first trailer. People had mixed feelings about a movie like this, but most importantly, fans were wondering if the G3 dolls would resemble the characters from the movie. In June 2022, an image of an alleged G3 Cleo prototype appeared.
Fans were critical of the direction the new generation of Monster High would be going. The redesigns were initially met with a lot of backlash. Complaints ranged from the characters having way too childish designs to looking too much like Barbie dolls. Basically, a lot of back and forth going on in every Monster High based comment section. Most fans were just disappointed or thought that Monster High lost their edginess that made it popular in the first place.
I'm underwhelmed. I know that it's likely a prototype, but I'm just so sad that we've lost so much of the OG charm already. I know it's a reboot, but I didn't think they would go in this direction. Ugh.
The community had to take a huge hit of copium as people were hoping this Cleo was only a prototype and the final doll would be a lot closer to their expectations. A few days later, the world would get a first glimpse at the new Monster High series that would be airing later that year on Nickelodeon. Fans' reactions to these leaks were mixed.
Oh my gosh, Frankie's leg is a prosthetic! Disability representation. And the glasses on Claudine are kinda cute and honestly, love it.
While fans were still arguing whether or not they should support or boycott the new designs of the ghouls, a new photo of prototype dolls was released in July.
These designs seem to be based more on the upcoming movie. It's sad to say, but like always, many fans didn't seem to like the look of these three ghouls. At this point, things didn't look good for the reboot. Other fans, including myself however, could at least find something they liked about these dolls. In my opinion, Dracula is very cute. However, I'm not really a fan of what they did with Frankie's hair. Later on throughout the year, even more prototypes would leak. Overall, these designs received a lot more positive feedback from the community compared to earlier leaks.
Cleo, literal perfection. They need to give her more bangs in her future G3 dolls. I like Laguna, despite her somewhat shocked facial expression, but she looks more grey, if anything, rather than blue.
Right, Cleo does look stunning. Laguna and Frankie are super cute. I would love to have that Laguna doll. In August of 2022, the boxes of the G3 dolls were leaked. However, the dolls inside were blurred out. Some were concerned about the box's designs, as they appeared to be kind of cluttered, but others were positively surprised by the clothing items inside, and hoped that the new dolls would come with a second outfit as well, like for example, how Rainbow High Shadow High dolls did back in the day. Soon after the box for the upcoming Coffin Bean playset would be leaked, people were finally able to see the new designs of their favorite ghouls for the first time. This also meant that some leaks that happened previously turned out to be true, to the dismay of some fans. The consensus for the new designs was all in all positive. For example, people loved Frankie's prosthetic leg, as well as Laguna's transparent legs, the more varied body types, and the representation in general. And it seemed like Dracula's new design would turn out to be the most popular among fans, including myself. The Monster High community never rests, as immediately after the sneak peek, fans started to make lists of the upcoming dolls that had already leaked, including every detail as well as their names. In September, there were already listings for the upcoming dolls on eBay, selling for a lot of money. Around this time, people started posting reviews of the dolls on YouTube, and fans would get their first glimpse at the quality and overall features and details of the dolls.
On September 17th, a campaign was shown in which Monster High partnered up with DoSomething.org in order to spread awareness of the problem of school bullying. When people would visit the site, they were greeted with the new Monster High logo for G3. So this was basically the first real public look at Generation 3, without the dolls being officially announced yet. The official announcement of Generation 3 would soon follow, however. Before that, I would like to mention the secret influencer event that happened 2 days earlier on September 15th. A few days earlier, rumors were floating around that some secret event will be held to which only dollfluencers were invited. Fans just wanted some sort of information and were hoping for leaks following this mysterious event. In the end, it turned out to just be a huge PR gig, and nothing new really came to light. If you are interested to see what happened at the event, I advise you to check out ZombieXcorn's video about this event.
But even so, the Toralei was out of the bag at that point, and shortly after that, on September 20th, Mattel would officially announce the new generation of Monster High. Only 6 days after that, we were hit with yet another announcement. This time, it was for the upcoming animated series that would be airing on Nickelodeon later that year. The first episode would air on October 28th. Just like that, even more and more official information about Generation 3 was announced. There were even music videos released on YouTube for each of the characters. Now these songs go so hard, my favorite one being Claudine's. Make sure to give them a listen if you haven't already. October was the month for a new generation of Monster High being unleashed on the world. Fitting with October being spoopy season after all. Fans were still torn on the reboot, but ultimately decided to give G3 a chance at least. And so, we patiently waited for October 1st, which would be the release date for the new generation of Monster High dolls.
On October 1st, the new dolls were officially released. If I remember correctly, Target's and Walmart's release date was 1 or 2 days later. As far as I'm concerned, the drop went pretty smoothly. I can't really tell how exactly it went down, as I don't live in America, but I remember reading that many people were able to buy the new dolls after release. However, there were still a few people who had to wait a month or so to buy them after launch, because they were sold out. Outside of America, things were again very different, as fans didn't get any sort of official information about the release outside the US.
Okay, but here's how things went down once international news was finally released. UK fans didn't have to wait that long, as Smith's Toys would release them in November/December of 2022. Now that made other European collectors hopeful that their countries would soon follow. When 2023 came around, fans were still none the wiser, but continued to wait patiently. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, more dolls were announced and released, which led to even more new leaks circling the internet, such as the Creep Over Party line, in which the monsters would wear cute little pajamas, which would also feature a new design for fan favorite character Twyla, as she was also featured in the new collection. These leaks were received quite positively. One thing, however, puzzled fans. They just couldn't figure out what the accessory that came with the Twyla doll was supposed to be. Is that a jewel? Finally, in February, many European Smith's Toys websites finally featured Monster High dolls. However, they couldn't be purchased just yet. Fans from many countries were still waiting on any official news about when the dolls could be purchased. Meanwhile, other countries like the Netherlands, Belgium, as well as Poland started selling the ghouls already. People from Germany and France had to wait a bit longer until June, when Smith's Toys would finally release the dolls in these countries as well.
Even though I'm not the one you adore,
I'm gonna leave this in the video.
why not settle for me? Even though fans were happy that the dolls finally were released outside the US, they also couldn't help but be a little disappointed to have missed previously released lines, such as the Creep Over Party collection for example. Also, I'm not sure whether or not the new dolls were released in Asia yet. As more and more people were able to get their hands on the new generation of Monster High, some fans noticed that dolls unfortunately weren't everything they had hoped for quality-wise.
You are about to open a Generation 3 Laguna doll. Be careful and don't touch the legs.
Why? What will happen?
The legs will chip.
But isn't this a playline doll? Shouldn't it be properly sealed?
Ha ha ha. No, I hope you have prepared some, Mr. Super Clear. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, Mattel has gotten cheaper and cheaper the past couple of years. Be it the quality of fabric, hair material, or quality control. The new generation of Monster High is no exception. Fans have complained about poor quality control since the day the dolls dropped. But not all is bad. Mattel also managed to implement some innovative ideas into the new generation. And without further ado, I would also like to talk about the positives that the new generation of Monster High has to offer.
I think the most important part that just has to be mentioned is the representation among these dolls. Not only do they offer a diverse range of heritages, Frankie now has a prosthetic leg as well. Twyla is neurodivergent.
Okay, here it goes. I am autistic, and loudness bothers me.
We're so sorry, Twyla. We never would have played music if we knew we were disturbing anyone.
They also implemented LGBTQIA+ representation. The former protagonist of Monster High, Frankie Stein, is non-binary and uses they/them pronouns in Gen 3.
Name's Frankie, non-binary, pronouns they, them.
Frankie Stein. I'm 15 days old and my pronouns are they, them.
Also, the animated series airing on Nickelodeon hints at a possible relationship between Frankie and Cleo, called Clanky. The character Deuce is also shown to have two moms in the show. Another cool detail to point out is that the dolls also have molded on details, like Claudine sprouting fur on her legs, or wraps around Cleo's legs and arms. Even better is that the dolls now have different body types, with Draculaura being the shortest and curviest of the ghouls, for example. Also, Claudine and Abby are a little taller when compared to the other dolls. Fans were also hyped when they heard that the dolls would have chest articulation now, which means more posability. Even the budget line of G3 was articulated properly, with it only losing the chest articulation. This is quite impressive, since some companies tend to take away articulation in arms and legs for their respective budget lines, like you can see in the newly released budget dolls from Rainbow High, for example.
All in all, I'd say reactions were pretty positive for the most part. People were fond of most of characters' redesigns, and also enjoyed the new direction the third generation of Monster High was heading towards. Of course, I can't end the segment without mentioning the one and only, the fan favorite, the love at first sight doll, the G3 design that might just be better than even the original, the Ice Queen who could even give Elsa a run for her money, the... Okay, I stop now. May I introduce you to Miss Perfect herself, G3 Abby Abominable.
Woo!
To say that this doll is a fan favorite would be an understatement. I believe I have never read a negative comment online about this doll ever, and that is despite the fact that she has tinsel in her hair. A material that is quite notorious in the doll community because of its inability to withstand many forms of restyling. But Abby is still gorgeous nonetheless. Unfortunately, as of making of this video, she's only available in a few select countries. But I guarantee you, when she releases overseas, I will 100% act like the person from this post.
Also, I don't know if this counts as a positive, but you can do stuff like this with the G3 dolls. Decide for yourself in which category this belongs. For me, it's definitely a win. Okay. Unfortunately, we have to once again talk about some negatives and bad things the dolls inherit from their predecessors. Now, talking about the positives for once was a quite needed breath of fresh air. There is no need to feel bummed as we return to some more negative aspects once again, as some of the stuff we will cover now is actually quite hilarious. Okay, first of all, the quality. As you could see from my little skit about unboxing Laguna, the quality control of these dolls sometimes tends to be, well, off. For example, Laguna's new design features her having blue transparent legs. All in all, a cool new addition in my opinion. If it wasn't for the issue of her legs chipping frequently. But not only Laguna has problems. No, Frankie's cool markings on their legs and arms also rub off just like Twyla's smoke effects, unfortunately.
I'm not really sure if future releases of these dolls fix the issue, however. I couldn't see any chipping on my Skulltimate Secrets Laguna, but despite that, I barely touch dolls like my Frankie, because I'm afraid of rubbing off their painted unstitching.
Now this is actually quite a big issue, as the dolls are playline dolls, and it's weird for them to break bad easily or lose their paint after merely looking at them the wrong way. Speaking of breaking, these dolls have a nasty habit of breaking at the hand joints, so that you either can't remove the hand or putting them back into place once they break. And if you are one of those unfortunate people that had that happen to them and decided to contact Mattel for a refund, you would be quite surprised. Many people would not be offered the same doll that broke initially, but instead a Twyla doll. This became kind of a meme on the subreddit, as no matter what your issue was, you would be offered a Twyla in return. Also, dolls would sometimes come with 2 left hands, 2 right or left shoes, have rooted ears, or be poorly rooted in general, or they would have the wrong phone display. And that's not all. Some dolls have weird holes in their feet, wonky faces, as well as missing parts.
Well, so let's talk about overall design. Fans complained that the new generation of Monster High was more child-friendly. Back in the days, Monster High became popular for being edgy and not like other dolls on the market. But now they have cute smiles on their faces and wear a lot of pink? Many pointed out that this is weird for Laguna to go from having bluer skin to now being pink, but still being called Laguna Blue. Personally, I don't mind her pink skin. I actually really grew to love her new design. And Skulltimate Secrets Laguna just happens to be my favorite G3 doll that came out until now.
Now let's get back to the negatives. The unique box designs the dolls initially came in were replaced with standard plastic doll boxes, and the doll stand was replaced by little goodies like an eye coffin, for example. You could see this as a positive or a negative, depending on who you ask. I think it's quite unfortunate that the stand was removed, but having extra goodies is nice for posing the doll and giving them more character. Fans had mixed feelings about everything G3 related. There were many instances in which people vented and wished for G1 back. This annoyed fans of the new generation, as they were tired of their favorite lines being constantly torn to shreds. All in all, everyone can decide on their own what they think about the new generation of Monster High. I would love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Okay, one more thing before we end this video. We just have to talk about this. What the hell happened to Heath? Now, on to the conclusion.
Well, that was a pretty long video. I hope you liked it. And if not... I'm just joking.
So, co-host, what would you like to see in future releases from Monster High?
Personally, I would love to see doll stands returning. I know there's one release, some kind of special Laguna that released some time ago that I think had a doll stand, so maybe they are returning for some releases of G3.
Maybe just don't include them in the budget lines, but like in the higher price releases?
Yeah, and like it would be cool for the real drama dolls to have the wave 2. So like Gouliak could have...
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't Rainbow High come with a doll stand and accessories? Like, don't they have both?
Yeah, they do.
Why doesn't Monster High do that? So, do you have anything you want to add to the end of this video? Any final thoughts?
I'm happy that Monster High returned and that you can buy them in store again. I mean, G1 will always have a place in my heart, but I really actually like Generation 3 of Monster High.
Yeah, same.
And I'm happy to see in which direction they're going, like with the recently leaked Skulltimate Secrets Wave 3 line, which is like Neon Frights or something it's called. I like the direction. Twyla's so cute. I don't think they're really listening to fans, but I like the direction the new leaks are going, like.
Okay, so I have asked you before of what you would wish for in the reboot of Monster High, and you told me that there is one special collector doll you would love to see if they would actually make it.
I think I'm not the only one who would love to see that.
Oh, really?
I've read some comments about people loving to see a Corpse Bride collector's pack. Like with the Corpse Bride and Victor, I think he's called. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, I can see that.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, they also already did Beetlejuice, which is also a Tim Burton creation, so that could happen. That would be, I mean, it sold out in like 3 seconds, but...
Yeah, good luck getting one of these.
Yeah.
So my favorite doll has always been Claudine, and I just really hope that they actually have the guts to make her a lesbian. At some point. I know the movie kind of hinted towards a romance with Deuce, but yeah, we'll see where things are going, especially because we've seen great representation in the animated show already. Like, seeing queer stuff in shows is just always really great. So, yeah. Also, I can't wait to see other ghouls returning as well, such as Skelita.
Yeah, I think she's already confirmed to have this Ultimate Secrets released sometime.
Alright, so that's it for this video. If you enjoyed our fangirly ramblings, please consider subscribing. I usually make videos on everything animated, but this was a nice change of pace. So please,
like and subscribe
if you enjoyed this video. So until next time,
bye!
Bye!